Hey everyone, I just finished reading James by Percival Everett. It is historical literary fiction and a retelling of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, but instead with the perspective of James, who is the slave in the book who befriends Huck. So the book begins with Huck running away from his physically abusive father and with James running away from a nearby plantation. James plans to somehow free his wife and kids from slavery, but along the way they run into some con men who get Huck and James in trouble, threaten their lives, and then lead to Huck and Finn's separation in their journey. In the original book, we follow Huck's narrative, but with James, we see how he ends up in a minstrel show. From there, there's more clever and cunning tactics he makes along the way to gain money. James meets a white passing man named Norman who run away together, and some proceedings and revelations open up in this book that are quite shocking. Now, the racism in this book is quite blatant and reprehensible. You can see how white people saw black people as dumb, subhuman, illiterate, not by circumstance, but from lack of intellectual capacity. James can read and write. In one part of the book, a fellow slave steals a pencil for James, and he ends up getting whipped and lynched for it. James feels immense guilt for this, and he treasures the pencil on his journey, and he knows fully the power of writing. He hopes that one day he could write his own story, his own narrative, that he won't just be retelling it to someone who can write like most slave narratives were at the time, but he can write it himself. The book is steeped with literary references to 18th and 19th century philosophers, and sometimes James has intellectual imaginary knowledge. He speaks in slave talk, which is a southern slang with its own vernacular. He's perfectly capable of speaking with correct diction and grammar, but speaking in slave talk will make white people more comfortable. It helps them believe that black people are inferior. Speaking better English than them will make them feel inadequate, with less power, and therefore angry towards the black person. Slaves speak standard English amongst themselves in this book. They all know how to speak properly. This book also, I notice, supports the value of the written word and language, where writing gives the author power, where a pencil is the conduit for precious knowledge, and where being black and saying hello unprompted to a white person gets you whipped. We do get a glimpse of Huck, and we see how he is really just a child trying to survive. He is a good child who believes that no one should be able to buy and sell a human, and he truly sees Huck as a friend. He is a product of his environment and time, though. He says the N-word and such. But his naivety, though, means he does not really grasp how racist the society is around him. He doesn't understand that even though he is a child, his race gives him more power than his adult friend James. He sees his own running away as a fun adventure, whereas James sees this as very much a life or death situation. I would also consider this book an adventure novel. It's a slice of slavery era Americana. It's one man's fight to survive and to be free against a world who would want to see him under a life of servility. The book is very compelling. It's easy to read in the sense that the adventuresome plot really hooks in the reader. It is also literary in its analysis of racial relations. And even the title of the book, James, means something. Jim is his slave name, and James is his free name. And in this book, we see how Jim becomes James. This novel is very good. It's refreshing in its honesty, and I would give it 4 stars total. So yeah, this is a hot new book right now. It took me a while to get it at the library, but I do think it was worth the wait. So thank you for watching, and I'll be back next time.